Welcome to the Secrets to Her Success podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Stoops, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll be digging into the journey of a successful woman entrepreneur to help inspire and empower you on your journey in business. And listen, hey, I love your feedback, so please leave a review on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of the ladies I have lined up for you. Okay, I have Beth Picard on the line. Hi, Beth. How are you?
I'm great, Lisa.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Me too.
So Beth has 3 different businesses. She has myfriendbeth.com. She has great graphicsdesigns.com, which I am a customer of. I have bought your graphics before too, by the way, Beth.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I actually used them to, I think it was for some, I printed them off and used them on a, what do they call it? Little party favors for soy candles. So,
cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And that was very convenient. And also Beth is going to be starting up onesassysister.com. Anyway, I just want to start it off this conversation with you and just kind of ask you, how did you get into these businesses? How did you start your business?
Well, I have had some sort of business pretty much all my life, some kind of artistic something. And about 12 or 13 years ago, I started a stationery and invitation manufacturing business, really by mistake. One of my friends took me to a little show at our junior high, and I sold so much stationery there that I'd made that I ended up in this business, and I had about 100 dealers across the country, and it got really too big for me. I had employees and overhead and all that. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I sold it. And my husband has a brick and mortar stationery store, so I was helping him with his website, and that got old real fast, so I was looking for something to do. So I went on Etsy, and I thought, oh, I'll knit some scarves or do something. I was just looking for something fun for me to make, and I saw digital graphics. And when I saw that, I went, this can't be true. I mean, I can make all these things and sell them, and I don't have to actually print anything. I mean, this is all digital. And so I just started. I had no clue whether it would work or not, and that was 3 years ago, and it's doing great. And so I did that, and out of that, because I had so many people asking me how to use graphics and what should they do, it got to the point where all day long I was just answering questions. So I kind of took all of that and turned it into My Friend Beth, where I teach people how to use graphics and do all that. So that's kind of how it got going.
So creative. I love that. I love how you just stumbled upon it all, too. I mean, you had those so many years in, what were you doing on the manufacturing thing of it? What was that?
Stationery and invitations.
So you would actually print them out and all that?
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, I sold them like about over 100 stores had my albums. I had albums with all the samples in them, and then most of all my stuff was they could customize it any way they wanted, and that was before everybody was doing that. So I had a really booming business, so much so that I worked 7 days a week until 12 o'clock every night and never had a vacation. So I was exhausted, but I had all that, so I knew that business really well. And that's why I was tired of doing that all the time.
Wow. I mean, that was just a lot of your time. So you got your Etsy store started. You were just doing the whole Etsy thing. How would you get people to your Etsy shop?
I really don't even know how that happened, because I do remember, and I tell all my members this about at the beginning of the year, I want them to set a goal, because I remember the day I was sitting there was January the 17th, and I did not even know if, I was going to sell one thing. But I wrote down in my little book, I wrote, by this time next year, I want to sell 5,000 orders. And I had not even, posted them yet. And the first day I sold 17. And by my first year anniversary, I woke up that morning and I had my 5,200th sale.
What?
So I did. It was great. And I didn't know, I mean, I didn't have a Facebook page. I didn't even know about Twitter. I didn't know anything because I had been in that manufacturing world for so long. I hadn't been on the computer except to design. So they found me on Etsy. And then, then I did get a Facebook page and did that. But pretty much they came to me.
Through
And then
Etsy.
I started my Great Graphics Designs website so that I could, I wanted to have that because there's so many things on Etsy that could, I don't own that. So, I wanted to be sure I had my stuff somewhere else. So, I did when somebody buys something for me on Etsy, I send them a discount coupon for my website so that I can possibly move them over to be a customer there. And then I get to keep more money, which is good. So that's kind of how I did it.
So that's really key right there, because I know in some of our art market things we have a Etsy store, but I know that it's important to have your own e-commerce site, which I do, but it's kind of difficult for me to see which one do I focus on, or how do I bring, the people from Etsy to go and buy on my site. Did you ever have a problem with that?
Well, no, because see, at first I would send them their files. I would email them their files. And since it was an email for me, I could, Etsy's not cool about you posting anything on there about your website to have, somebody go off Etsy to purchase something on your Etsy site. So I would just include a little discount coupon in my email to them to my website. And so, because I do not have as much expense on my website as the, 3.5% or whatever Etsy takes. So I really wanted them to go to my website. But so like if you sell your candles and things or whatever, you could put that in, put them in a little card or something when you send it to them to move them over to your website. And then I've really worked on learning SEO to really help that more than anything.
So what have you done SEO wise?
Oh, I've just read all about everything. And of course, every time I get caught up with this is how you're supposed to do it with your meta tags or this or that, Google changes it to something else. So I get to go back and redo all that and change it to how they want it. I mean, ever-changing nightmare.
So let's go back to the sales thing. You said the first day that you put stuff up on Etsy, you got 17 sales. Is that what you said?
I did.
Wow.
It was awesome.
Wow.
And I was terrified because everything I'd read, said don't be disappointed if you don't get a sale in your first 2 or 3 months. And so I was amazed.
Do you remember how many listings you put up?
30.
Did you? Okay. And did you continue to add more?
Every day.
Every day? Okay.
And I ended up working just as long hours as I did when I had my stationery business. But I think that's more the nature of the beast rather than it having to be that way. So I'm just like that. When I like doing something, I really am kind of.
So you were inspired to do it.
Yeah, I am all in one way or the other.
So by a year later, then you had over 5,000. Then you met that goal that you put out there, that you just pulled a number out. You didn't even really know what you could do, right?
No, I thought that was ridiculous. I remember sitting there laughing when I wrote that down.
That's funny.
So I thought, why not? I mean, if I'm going to put 500, why not put 5,000?
Wow.
And I did the same thing by the end of my second year, and I'm about to hit my 3-year anniversary, and I am at 15,159.
That's awesome.
So I've done that every year. Or over every year.
Over that. That's awesome. So you have people coming then you said you teach people too on your My Friend Beth site?
Yeah.
So you're teaching them how to do graphics and how to set up Etsy stores, or?
It's pretty much everything. I mean, most of my people are not artists. I have a few, but most of them is just teaching them how to take graphics like they would buy from me or other people. And if they want to make invitations or party decorations or products like melamine plates there are millions of things out there that people can make and have printed on products. And so I teach them the basics of how to use Photoshop elements because it's a lot cheaper than regular Photoshop. It's also really geared for the crafty kind of thing. So it doesn't have all the photo stuff. This is really for what you're doing is turning these graphics or using these graphics to make an invitation or something. So I teach them how to use that, and then, excuse me, and then I teach them how to open an Etsy store, how to make the graphics for that, how to open a website, how to make the graphics for that, some SEO information, a little bit of marketing, Facebook, even though I'm terrible at all of that. But, how to make the Facebook banner. I have templates in there for that. And just to teach them from beginning, if this is the kind of stuff you want to make, here's how you make it, here's what you do with it, and here's how you sell it. And here are the places you can sell it.
Mm-hmm. So your customers and clients are coming from Etsy then and finding you there first, or is it?
I think the first ones did. I really don't know. I mean, I have a Facebook page for my friend Beth. I'm just really the worst marketer ever. And the bad thing is it's not a word of mouth thing because my members don't want other people to know about it.
Oh my.
Because they like it and they like knowing how to do things that other people can't do and where to get a lot of products and things. And we share all that, which is amazing. I have to say that. The most amazing thing about that whole thing is our private Facebook group, because I'm not a big groups of women have never been my thing. And I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to have all these women that I've got to deal with. And, I'm just serious. I just thought, and nobody's going to tell anybody anything. Nobody's going to share anything. It has been the most amazing thing of all, because they tell each other where they get things, and some of them are buying in bulk together and splitting orders. And this summer, really and truly, one of the most amazing things happened. One gal was short 7 of this little product that she needed to get out immediately for an order. And 3 of the other members said, I have some. 2 of them offered to overnight them. One of them said, I just looked and you live 3 hours from me. I'll meet you halfway and get them to you. And I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beyond what I ever thought could happen. But I told them, I said, there's room for everybody. There are so many people out there buying and there is, and they're all making money and they're all doing well. There's never been a catty remark made in there. Everybody helps everybody. And great friendships have been made in this group. And we have 2 guys. So they kind of, when the women start talking about all sorts of other things, sometimes they disappear, but they are great too. But we have people that do vinyl cutting, and we have people that embroider and do lots of things that I have no clue how to do. But they can use the graphics to make things for what they do.
So that Facebook group really adds a lot of value to your programs then, and to your teaching.
Not that my tutorials are not great, but the group is everything. It's better than anything I have.
Wow. So do you actively try to get more people into that group then?
Well, if they sign up it's just a one-time payment. Mm-hmm. You're in for life. You have access to everything from day one. If you get into that, then you are automatically, if you want to be. I have a few people that join that don't want to be on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And so, I do think they're missing out, because I do think there's so much great content shared between the people. And, everything, not to mention just the part, of people just sharing things that are happening, or, crazy Etsy customer stories, or somebody being rude to them and everybody goes, well, or what should I say to this customer? And people will respond and say, here's what I'd say. Most of that I probably can't repeat, but,
right.
But it's a great thing to have people that are doing the same sort of thing to bounce that off of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that. I love seeing the collaboration. Somebody just recently said in a group that I was in was that people need to stop looking at other people as competitors and look at them as collaborators, like collaborate with one another. And it's like a win-win situation when you do that.
It is, but most people don't think that way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
some of that comes from the Etsy mentality of, you know, if you're selling this and I'm selling this, then you're taking sales away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not the way it is. I mean, that's the first thing I tell people when they, when they join, is that there is enough for everybody. We are not competing with each other, and there's not going to be any of that. There's plenty for everybody. They call me Miss Bossy Pants, which I am. I am. But I mean, I think just saying that up front and saying, and I think that's why it's worked, is because they really believe that. And now that they've been in there, they see it and see that nobody's taking sales away from them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
So,
I did tell them from the get-go, I said, any of you copy anybody else, you're out. And
right.
so I've never, ever had any problem with that.
That's right. You're regulating.
Yes.
You're Miss Bossy Pants.
Miss Bossy Pants is in
In
charge.
charge. So this sounds really great that when you transitioned your business into something digital now and online. So, what are your future plans?
I'm going to launch my One Sassy Sister. Besides being bossy, I am very sassy. So go with what you're good at, right?
There you
And
go.
so I'm going to launch my One Sassy Sister site, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, which is some product-based things, because I saw a lot of my members making stuff and having fun with that. And I have to say, I've gotten kind of tired of people ripping off my stuff on it. They just copy. There are just so many people that copy, and they do it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that got very discouraging to me, and I wanted to start making something besides just being on the computer all day and doing that. So I decided, I found some things that I'm going to sell on my site that are different than none of my members are selling some of these things, and that way I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. But I'm also making new graphics that I'm not going to use. I'm not going to use the stuff that I've been selling to people on my stuff for the most part. So I'm going to launch that. And my biggest thing is going to be pillows. And I don't allow people to print on fabric with my graphics anyway. So nobody will have any of the graphics printed on pillows. So that's going to be my biggest item on there.
So this ability to create, is that what keeps you going? What
Oh,
keeps you going?
all day, every day.
Creativity.
It's like breathing. I mean, if I can't draw, paint, create something, I get all out of sorts.
So with these pillows, though, you'll be able to create the graphics and put them on there. It's a personalized thing. Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because I'm painting some backgrounds and drawing some backgrounds and doing some
Mm-hmm.
other things just to make all different. I'm going to use some of my digital stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but really what I want to do is be able to draw and paint things so they'll be exclusive. Nobody else will have them. I can personalize them with their names I can give you an example. I gave my samples were things I gave everybody in my family got a pillow for Christmas. But my aunt and uncle have a lake house, and they inherited from my grandfather, and he had all these old fishing lures. And my mother got them when he died, and she framed them, and some of them are out at my aunt and uncle's lake house. So I did a watercolor of all these antique fishing lures, and then I just put their name on it and the name of the lake, where their house is, and made it into a pillow, and it's fabulous. I mean, it's just so fun to do something different like that than stuff that I've seen everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So you've been in business for a really long time. Is there something that you can share with me and the listeners about a big success that you might have had and then you learned from it, or maybe a failure that you've had that you learned from? Is there anything that maybe you felt stuck and you didn't know? Because there's a lot of us out there that are in business that get pretty, I don't know, discouraged at one time or another and never feel like anything is going to really get them to the success that they're looking for. Is there any advice that you could give or anything? That's a loaded question. I know.
Well, I really do think the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to try anything, whatever it is. I mean, I never have been. maybe that's just the way I was made, because I've had so many things that I've done. I mean, I hand painted children's clothes. I've done ceramics, and I've made lamps and mosaic sinks, and I wrote a book. I mean, that, as far as my biggest success, that probably would be it. But I woke up in the night with the story in my head, so I never really took credit for that. But I had book signings. Books A Million chose it as their book of the month here in Birmingham. That was great. But I was more afraid of the rejection, so I sent it off to one place, and when they rejected it, I just published it myself. And, I've never been afraid to try and do something, and then that goes across the board in everything in my life, because we needed a retaining wall at the bottom of our driveway one time, and my first husband said, "Oh, we can't afford that," so I built it myself. And that was up 20 years ago. It's still standing. My thought process was, well, I've seen these people building brick walls. If they can do it, I can do it. And I did. So I just am never afraid to try. The worst thing that can happen is you fail. And so what? I mean, unless you put tons of money into something, but I mean, you need to be careful about that. But most things you can try don't cost tons of money to start.
Just try, do. Be active, take action, and do something. I know a lot of times fear holds a lot of people back. So your ability to block out the fear, like you're not afraid to try something. How are you not afraid of something? I mean,
a lot of that, Lisa, probably is because of my parents, because there was nothing ever when I was little that I wanted, they never said, "Oh, you can't do that." Or, nobody ever told me that there was something I couldn't do. So I guess I grew up thinking that I could do anything I wanted to. I mean, and I've done the same with my kids, and just, whatever I want them to do what they want to do, and I think that's more the way I was raised, and probably my personality of not being afraid, because I'm really not. I mean, if you told me you wanted me to go write a dissertation on, something metaphysical, blah, blah, well, yeah, I'd be terrified because I wouldn't even have a place to begin. But I guess I've stayed with things that I know. I mean, I'm creative. I've taken art since I was 6 years old. And so I've always done something, and it's always been, but I mean, I wanted to learn to sew in high school. So I sat down at my mother's sewing machine and made some horrible looking thing. But I made it. I mean, what was the worst thing that was going to happen? I was going to throw it in the trash. And, I guess that's it. What is the worst thing that can happen?
Right. You're not going to die over it, right?
No. No. And it's, that's the same thing about how my stationery business got started. My friend that signed me up for that show, what am I going to take? I said, I have huge mosaic cement benches. I can't even pick them up. And mosaic sinks. And she said, "Oh, do those little cards and notes and things that you make for people for presents." And, and I went, okay. So I literally had a handful of stuff, and so many people bought it. And at that point, I will say I had a little fear, but I thought I need to take this to the next level. So I took my handful of samples into a local stationery store. And the woman that ran it was kind of a scary person, but I knew that she would tell me the truth. And I knew the worst thing she could tell me is, "You really walked in here with this crap in your hand?" No. And instead, she looked at him and she went, "Well, where are your albums?" And I went, "I don't even know what you're talking about. Albums, what?" And she went to the side of her store, and there are, 100 albums of stationery and invitations and all this stuff. And 3 months after that, I had 4 albums already designed and made and printed them out and was good to go.
Wow, look at that. So she actually gave you that idea. You didn't even know what it was, right? But it was because you took that action, that step.
Right.
To go in there in the face of being...
And that was scary. Not just because of her personality. I mean, I knew her, but I knew she was honest. But it was... that's all I said to myself. The worst thing she could do is say no.
I love that. That's right. So just by taking that action, a lot of things changed for you.
Yeah. And she actually took me to market like 3 weeks later, she took me to market and showed me everything that was out there and showed me how people sold things. And for people doing things the way I did it, basically it was better to do it out of an album where people could look through and choose what they wanted, as opposed to printing a bunch of stuff and sending it out, in bulk and all that. And so, yeah, she led me, but she really took me under her wing and showed me. And if I'd never walked in there, I'd probably be making mosaic sinks still.
Yeah. So she turned into like a mentor for you
She
then?
did.
She did? Wow, look at that. So yeah, how important is that, do you think, in having that in your life as you're a budding entrepreneur, or, having somebody direct you?
I think that's invaluable. And I think that is kind of what I have become to some of my people and my friend Beth, because one of my people, emailed me one day or something, and she showed me some samples that she'd made with my graphics, and she was thinking about joining the site. And I went, oh my gosh, you have the best design I have ever seen. And she did. And I would not have told her that. And she has made a ton of money since then, and she didn't know how to do anything. So I am kind of a mentor to them, and I tell them the truth. No, you don't need to have 65 different graphics on that card. 5 will be fine. Or, I do it nicely, but I do tell them the truth and help them, and I do think that's helpful. And I think anybody doing anything, no matter what it is, it's helpful to have somebody that knows more about it than you do that can help you out. Because after she helped me, several years later, I wanted to get into the wedding. I did not start out with any wedding invitations or anything. I thought that was just way over my pay grade of what I knew how to do. But by that point, probably 5-6 years into my business, my current husband was one of my dealers. And we ended up getting married, and he said, I want you to really do this wedding stuff. And he helped me learn exactly what I needed to do that. And my wedding line ended up being one of the biggest parts of my business.
Just from him helping you then, learning it? You didn't know it before.
Well, I mean, I could see what people were doing, but I didn't know what was selling and what people wanted and he was with brides all day, every day. And he said, they want ribbon. They want to be able to customize it. They want to do this. They want to do that. And no companies were doing that. And even though it made mine much tougher because we did customize everything, it made it really popular, too, because you couldn't get it anywhere else. Matter of fact, when I sold my business, I had a bunch of my dealers calling me going, please, would you please go buy it back so that, we need you, because the girl didn't want to do what I did.
So now you, how much networking do you do? Do you think it's important? Are you out there networking with people, whether online or offline?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because I've taken some classes from different places about, like I said, I'm terrible at marketing, so I took Marie Forleo's class, and I've worked with some other people and met some great people like you through some of those things, and that I stay in touch with. And when I have, because that is marketing and selling myself have never been my strong points at all. Matter of fact, I can sell everybody else's stuff better than I can sell my own.
Wow. But you still have a thriving business. How is that possible?
I do stuff. I mean, I do. I have a blog, and I send out emails, and I put some on Facebook, and I have Twitter, even though, Twitter's not visual enough for me. I just don't get it.
That would be Pinterest and Facebook.
Yeah, and so Pinterest has really become my go-to place because the Pinterest people are really shoppers, and it's all visual. So that really is my best. That I like that for me, for what I do, better than anything.
Pinterest, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Only recently? Okay.
Only recently. In the last couple months, I decided to get on that, and I try to pin, a few things every day, and just try. I have in about a month and a half built my followers up from like 200 to 1,400. So
yeah, that's really good. Right.
It's not very many, but it's getting there.
And you're just, you focused on it though. So See, that's important too. We can be so, especially online when you're trying to market everything. You got Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google Plus, wherever, LinkedIn, everything. You can be spread across the. You just have to find the right avenue for you. And being creative and in the creative field, definitely the visual places are the best.
Yeah, and I do think it is smart to hone in on one or two because nobody can do it all. And I think that's really, I was trying to cover all those bases and do a little of this and a little of that. I wasn't really doing anything well. And when I said, okay, I'm done, I'll go tweet, or, on Etsy, if you want to tweet something, you can tweet it when you post it. So that's about the extent of my Twitter. I hadn't opened my Twitter account in months, but I still, every now and then I get a thing that somebody's following me or whatever, but it just is it's not the right thing for what I do. But for a lot of people, it's the perfect thing for what they do. And so I think it just depends on what you're doing. But I did come up with a great thing because, if you get on Pinterest, you can be lost for 4 hours and never come out of Pinterest. So I made 15-minute playlist on my iTunes. I just picked songs, and I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
It's okay.
I made 15-minute playlists out of songs that I had in my iTunes. So when I get on Pinterest, I start that. I made about 5 or 6 of them. I start one of them. When the last song ends, I get out. And I do the same thing on Facebook. That way, I've got 15 minutes and I'm done.
Oh, I love it. You did it with a playlist.
But you can go in your iTunes and you can say search by or list them by however long the songs are. And so I've just got a bunch of 2-minute long songs and put them on a playlist, and I just turn it on and go. And then when the last one goes off, I have to go, okay, get out.
I love that. So that helps your productivity too, because you're just in and out, doing your thing, keep on going. What are some pieces of advice, like 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you could give to another, maybe somebody who wants to start up an Etsy shop? What would be like the best piece of advice you could give them so they can succeed? I've been in those forums too, where everyone's talking about, I'm not getting anything, and I didn't get my first sale for like 4 months, and I didn't do, and I know Etsy has changed some things over the time as well, and I would love to know what advice you have to get more sales, I guess, out of Etsy.
I think, the first thing I never go on the forums. I mean, if something's wrong and I can see something's wrong, I might go on there to see if it says, if they're changing something or doing something. But for the most part, I don't look at that. Some of that depresses me, and, or people are, I don't know, people just can get real negative.
They do.
So I just stay away from all that negativity. And plus, it's just a waste of time for me. Unless I need to know something, I might go look. But I think the most important things is like I said, I started with 30 things. I think having more than 4 or 5 or 6 things to put up, boom, at one time. I think having, because you don't want somebody to come and look and say, oh, well, she only has 3 things. They may never come back. But if you've got enough variety and enough things for people to see, I think that, and I know my stuff is different because I just put up the graphic images, but I know everybody talks about how important the photographs are and your pictures, because if somebody can't really tell something from that, I think that's they want to see it well. And I think having that and then write really good descriptions and if you really, really, really love what you're doing, it's going to come through. And more people tell me that. They say, I can tell you really like what you're doing because you get excited about it. I say silly things and not really on my descriptions, but like in my friend Beth stuff, I mean, I love doing that. And so I just think if you really love it, it's going to come through with everything you do. But not just write, a 1-line description of something. Tell everybody why it's so great and why they need to have it and why they can't live without it. And I think that will all come through. And if you're excited and enthusiastic, other people will be too.
So there you have it. Those are the success tips I'm going to take and apply them to my Etsy shop. So thank you again, Beth, so much.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Did you know you can find the highlights of each episode on secretstohersuccess.com? While you're there, be sure to sign up to get the free report, Top 5 Common Denominators for Building a Thriving Business. If you have ever wondered what makes some women so successful in business, then this is a must read.